Hi everyone, this is Diane. Today is Friday and I just finished sewing the signatures into this journal, which has become a paper doll themed journal. And I am going to put the beads and charms and things on the spine. And I had a question about whether I have shown how to do this. And I did link a video to that comment to show her that I did have a video on it, but I think in that video I didn't do some of the charms that might require a special treatment as far as getting them onto the strings. So that's what I'm going to do. I think I need to go get my buttons because I don't see any buttons here, and that is something I want to show. So excuse me while I grab some buttons. So I just have everything on this tray right now because I wanted to show you. I showed this tray. I have a couple trays down here when I did my tour. And I said I just put things on the tray that I want to work on upstairs. So if I'm going to be threading the charms and beads while I'm watching TV, I select the drawers that I want from my little, well, it's not so little, my big bead storage unit thing. And I just put them on my tray. I don't usually have this many, but I have so many options for these paper doll journals because I have extra things like the little dresses and hearts and bows, things that would be perfect for paper doll journals, in addition to the many colors. I think I can remove the pink ones. I was doing this charm. I still have 2 strings to do on this, but I'm not using pink as much in this journal. So I can take the pink beads away. And I'll still use the pink dress and whatever. I think this is the only bow I have left. So I use the purple bow. But I'm going to take them off the tray because that just adds more bulk to my table here. I just wanted you to see. Also, I will put like my little containers of scraps of fabric when I want to do fabric clusters and fabric flips and things like that. I'll put that on here and take it upstairs and work on that. Or scraps of paper when I want to do paper clusters and stuff. So here's what we're going to do. I am going to talk you from the bottom up. I have these waxed threads. They don't really feel really waxy. I have some that feel you could run your fingernail down it and you'd have wax coming off. These aren't like that. Like this one would probably be like that. But these are assorted colors. You can buy them on Amazon. I will leave a link to the multicolor set. I bought 2 different multicolor sets, and I need to buy some more because my favorite colors, my go-to colors, are about gone. So I don't have blues, and I had several shades of blue in here, and this is all I have left of any blues. I do have pinks. I had several pinks, but I'm out of red. I'm out of white and almost out of cream. This is more like an ecru. So I do need to order more, but then you get all these other colors that you don't use that often. But I mean, you can order a bigger spool of a white or a cream and a black. This is a bigger one of black. But the color ones, they all come together in a set. So anyway, that's what I have here. I put an eyelet in here, but you can also attach these to a clip like this, maybe even a smaller one, but you can tie the strings through that hole and then clip it on here, and then it's removable. So you don't have to use an eyelet. I've used other things too. You can get things like these. I've had these so long. I got them from Amazon, I believe. You'd have to punch a hole in your spine and then thread this through and open it up. But this is big. I don't use these a lot because they're big. I have something smaller. Like like these. And these are attached with a screw. So you just put this, punch a hole, and put this in the back, the inside of the spine so it's poking out, and then screw this onto it, and then you have this loop that you can tie your threads to. So there are other ways you can attach. Some people just tie them to a paper clip. Let's say this, it would be a smaller paper clip most likely, but you could tie your threads to this and then slip it onto the spine or onto the cover or an inside cover so that the strings are hanging out. So there are many ways that you can attach the cords. I'm just going to show you how to thread the beads onto the cords. All right, so I have my beads and I have my novelty beads and I have some buttons. I also like to use some unusual things. So I have these little, these are thick, and I have a variety of different styles. They came from different, like a matching game, memory game card. I got these at a thrift store. So I can just punch a hole in them and thread a string through them. And these are chipboard embellishments. They're just gray on the back, you know, the chipboard color. But I could paint that if I wanted to. But again, I could punch a hole in that and hang it. Some things, you can use a Dremel drill, which I don't have. But a lot of people will drill, I think they drill dice, I'm not sure, but if you had something like this, I think that they can drill right through that and then they can string it on like a bead. But I don't have a Dremel. I could get one, but I don't know. I've just been nervous about it. But I will show you what I would do to hang this. I need to go get another piece because I didn't bring that here. But this is a really thick game piece. And I used, this is called a bail, B-A-I-L. And you can find them on Amazon. And I used glossy accents. This is a clear dimensional medium, but I use it as a glue most of the time. You can squirt it onto a certain area to make it look glossy. And I have done that too. But I usually use it for attaching buttons and metal pieces to my projects because this will hold it really, really good. So that's what I glued this bail here with, and then I can thread that onto the cord. So I'm going to go get the bails to show you, and maybe we'll just go ahead and glue one to that cube. I have empty drawers in my bead container, so I use some of the drawers for my findings, and I have a drawer here for the bails. You get a lot in one pack. I've already used some, but you get a lot of them. So this is what they are. There's a loop, and then there's a flat part. And you would glue a pendant piece or something to it and put it on a necklace. Probably that's what they were for. But you can also do this with it. So I'm going to just glue that to it with my glossy accents. This clogs up almost every time, so I usually have to just stick a pin in it and squeeze until it loosens up. Now I can hear air coming through. Let's see if it'll come out now. Yes. It probably was a little too much. And it takes a while to dry. It's not fast drying like the Fabri-Tac. So I am going to set it down, set it out of my way, and let it dry. Well, make sure it's on there straight. And I'm just going to leave it all by itself for a while. And you are supposed to squeeze the air out of the nozzle when you're done and wipe it. I just took this out of the garbage. And so I've done that, but it will still, it'll still need to be cleaned out next time I want to use it. All right, so those are some introductory things. Now let's get to putting some things on my spine. So the way I put the threads on here are, I have 3, have as many as you want, but I have 3 so that they're doubled, and that makes 6 strands here. So I'll just do it for you. So 3 strands. I try to make them even, but I always end up trimming the ends anyway when I'm done. And then fold it in half and take the fold and stick it through the hole that you have. And then open up the loop and put all these threads through the loop and pull it. Okay. Now it might be a little tricky for me to do this so that you can see. I've got to clear a little space here. I'll probably mostly use blue and green and white beads. Not green, blue and yellow and white beads. But I have some green ones too, but I don't think I'll use them. I think I wanted them for the pink journal. That had a lot more colors to work with. All right, so I'll just take a thread. It doesn't matter which cord you start with. And I'm going to start with a small yellow bead and thread it on there. And I'll take a white bead and put it on. This is half white and yellow. It's kind of variegated. And let's do a blue bead. And you can do as many beads as you want. I'm going to tie a knot in this right here. And then we'll do one of the pieces that's not a bead. And then you want to make sure that the bead that's at the bottom of the pile won't slip off over the knot. Some of the holes are bigger than the knots. That one is good. So if that happens, you would just tie another knot right on the same spot to make it a bigger knot. So these are the pieces, not these. I just wanted to show you the bales. These are the pieces I pulled that aren't beads. These are kind of beads, but they're little foam pieces. And I got a whole bag full of these at a thrift store. So I think, well, I'm going to do one of these. So with these, I usually have to stick a pin in it or a needle to open up the hole better. Like this one still has, it's filled with foam, so that didn't get poked out enough. So I just have to make sure that the thread will go through. So it poked out some more foam here, and hopefully that will work. Yep. Now, I could string it like that as a bead, or if I wanted it to lay more flat, I could tie a knot in it right here. So I think I'll do that because it was pretty big to stick out. The smaller ones I could use as a bead. And tie a double knot. Usually these knots stay pretty good in the waxed cord. Okay, so that should lay a little flatter. And I'll just do some more beads. So on another string, I'll add some of the, or at least one of the chipboard pieces and a trinket or something. So let's continue on. I'll do another blue, a bigger one, and a white. And I might as well do another yellow. I have this thick shirt on because it's cold here. Okay. All right, now, when I want to add something like this, I don't usually want to add it up at the top. I just think it's too clunky up there. I like it a little bit further down. Doesn't need to be all the way down. So I'll put a few beads at the top. Or let's start with a button on this one. I like to use a button that has, well, you can use a shank button. That's a good way to use a shank button, which means it has the whole thing on the back. But I like to use a 2-hole button, but I have used 4-hole buttons. I just thread through 2 holes, not 4. Here's a 2-hole button. So just come up through the back. And then down the other hole. And you don't usually have to even tie a knot. I do if it's at the bottom of the thread, but it really is hard to move it up and down. So there's a button, and it's going to stay right there. I don't need to knot it. Okay, let's put on the bow. And this was in the bead department at a craft store, so it is made to be used as a bead, but it puts the bow sideways because I think it was supposed to be on a necklace or a bracelet, so it would be that way. But for us, it's sideways. And I think I'll put a little white bead at the bottom of the bow. Okay. And I guess I'll save my memory card for a different string. But I can put a game pawn on it. And for this, I'll just tie it around. I don't like to tie figures around the neck. So if I have a person that I want to attach, and I did attach a lady, I think it was a lady, to the first paper doll journal I made that's already sold and shipped. But she had her arms akimbo, so there was a space. All right, my mother called, so I had to stop the video. So I'm still trying to tie the cord around the neck of this pawn piece. So that's all you do, is just find a skinny part and tie it around. I was talking about the figure, the lady, and I didn't want to tie the cord around her neck, so she had her arms on her hips, her hands on her hips, so that there was a little bit of an opening between her arm and her body. And I had a really hard time getting this cord through that opening, but I threaded it on a needle and was able to thread it through. So I was able to get that on. So now we have a button, a bow, a bead, and a pawn. Let's put a yellow bead down here at the bottom. And you can tie a knot above and below the bead, but I don't. I don't tie a top knot. I just tie the bottom knot, let them slide around a little bit, because they're just going to be standing on a shelf maybe. I don't know if you keep yours on a shelf, but standing on a shelf, so all the beads would be down at the knot when the book isn't in use. Now that purple bead may look a little, the bow may look a little weird because there's no other purple, but it's a pale enough purple and I wanted to put a bow on it, so that's why it's there. All right, now I am going to put one of these. I'll put this one on because it's blue and yellow. I'm going to put that on this string. So I'll start with something small. I have these little, these are rubbery too, like those cheap pencil erasers that don't really work, but little girls like to collect them. That's what they're like. So this is a little blue flower. I'll string that on. Can you see it? And I might as well put a bee on it. Sometimes your thread might get a little bit frayed, and so I cut it at a little bit of an angle to give it just a little bit of a point to start going through. Some of the holes are small. There we go. And I'll put a yellow bead here. Oh, I have this striped bead. That's kind of cool. I'll just tie that on by itself because it's big. And then I'll put the memory card on. Oh, that hole is too big. So I'm going to tie a knot on top of the knot. Now it won't come through. Well, this yellow one slid right up over the next bead. Oh, it's supposed to be there. Okay, never mind. All right, now, in order to tie this on, I'm going to punch a hole. I usually do it on the corner so it hangs diagonally, but you can do it in the middle. But I'm going to do it in the corner here. Do it whatever way you have that will just put a little hole in your chipboard. It's kind of thick. And this will do it. If you don't have one of these, I don't know if you have a paper punch strong enough to do it, or if you have something that punches holes so you can put eyelets on, that would probably do it. Okay, where's my string? It's this one. So then I just put the thread through the hole and tie a knot. Okay, that's what we have so far. Looking fun, right? And I still have 3 strings to go. I'm going to make sure I put another button on. So I'll do some beads and then a button. And I want to make sure I put the paper doll dress, or the doll dress on it. That will help with this. It's closer to that color, so it's not just one piece, it's a different color. Okay, I'm putting white on. And then I have these. These came off of an old necklace. So I'll see. Sometimes old necklaces don't work. They don't have, the holes aren't big enough. But I think these look big enough. Yep, got it. I couldn't get it in one hole, so I started it in the other hole and then it went through. You don't have to have all the beads starting way up at the top either. Sometimes I put the first cluster of the string down lower so that not everything is all bunched up together at the top. Let's see if I have just something fun to add. Like I could put a bail on these little poker chips. They're tiny little chips, and use those. There's a tiny little dice in there that I could use, or die, little green die. Look, I even have an old used flash bulb from the old cameras. Something blue or yellow. Well, this has a bail on it. There's a rooster, and I put a bail on him. This is a buffalo. I have a yellow buffalo. And a blue racehorse. Let's put the racehorse on. Just a fun little toy. Oh, I also put a bail on this coal car that I thought was a bathtub with a bubble bath, but it says coal on it. And it's pink. Okay, now this doesn't have a bail, but I can tie the string right, where are we? Right through his front leg. Sometimes I feel like fumble fingers. My fingers are just too thick to do anything. Gotta make sure that, yeah, there is no opening. I wanted to make sure the thread wouldn't slip out because it looks like it could be open there, but it's not. I wanted to get this journal finished early in the day and then clean my room up. That's a little lower than I want it to be. Yeah, it drags. Let's see if I can undo that. Room clean, and then over the weekend, we're having a storm this weekend. And I wanted to be able to have stuff done so I could just chill and sit, you know, get on the couch with a stack of magazines I've been wanting to read. And, you know, Somerset magazines and Bella Grace. Yeah, now it's not dangling, so that's good. So, but my mother called, and she needed my help, and I'm always willing to go. She didn't really need my help, but she thought she did. Everything was fine. I had to call the bank and make sure, you know, she had the funds that she thought she did. For some reason, anyway, I'm not going to go into details, but she wanted to be assured that she had the money she thought she had in the bank. So I did that. I couldn't do it from home because they can't tell me her balance. They can't tell me anything, you know. You know how it goes. So I had to go to her house, and I did the calling, but they spoke to her, and they knew that I was with her, and they could give her the information. And then I had to take care of a prescription issue for her. All right, so now I'll start with some beads. We'll start with, get a blue one. She thought she was out of a prescription, but she didn't know the name of it. She had one pill left, and she could show it to me. So I could type it in, type it into Google, the description, the color, shape, size, and the imprint that had a number imprinted on it, and it came right up. And I said, okay, this is what the pill is. And I had to go to the drugstore and ask to have it filled, and I was told that it was filled. 3-month supply was picked up in early December. So then I had to go back, and I told Mom, and she was like, no, I don't remember that. But she found it, and she knew it was there, so she looked, so she found it. So that's good. So these were both issues that really didn't need my help, but she needed my help because she gets confused. She's really doing so well for her age. She can move. I mean, she could sit on the floor with her knees bent behind her, like off to the side. I was like, how can you do that when I couldn't? She's always been pretty flexible, I guess. But so she can get around and do stuff. She gets dizzy sometimes, and, you know, of course, moves a little slower, and she gets tired. She's 90 years old. But I'm amazed at what she can do. And so is my dad, because he can't do anything. Because his heart is so weak that he just doesn't have any strength for doing anything. And it's very, very, it's difficult for him to just sit there, not be able to do anything. He uses his walker to get to and from the bathroom. So he can do that. So anyway, that took up a good share of my day. And my brother came. He's taking over the banking for them, the bill paying. And he is setting it up on her computer, so he'll pay it, but he can do it on her computer. He knows how to do that stuff. I don't. So he can keep track of savings in one bank and checking in another bank and what bills are getting paid, and then he'll pay the bills, make sure everything stays the way it's supposed to be. And I'm so grateful that he's doing that. Okay, that's looking good. We have one more string, right? Yep, just one more. So it was kind of fun with him and me both there. We've been overlapping. We're both there a lot more often than we used to be with my dad's 3 times a week therapy. We take turns. We don't really take turns. Burdette does most of that, but I do some of them too. But Dad didn't want to go to that today because it's just too cold, and he is so easily cold. It bothers him so much. This is a fun vintage button. So Burdette and I overlap our visits quite often and get to see each other then. And I was feeling a bit frustrated, not at my mom, not at all at my mother, but just the fact that I was really planning on staying home today. And my brother came, and the atmosphere became more lighthearted, and it's like, I guess it just helped me to have someone else there with me, you know. My other siblings help too, but Burdette and I he's the oldest son and I'm the oldest daughter. Also, I'm the closest one, of course. So we're the ones that bear the brunt of things, and we are glad to do it. This button is looser than a button with the holes because it's a shank button, so that's looser. So, but it's going to have a knot here anyway. So it just made it more fun having him there. We could tease each other, and we could tease parents a little bit. I had to go to CVS to see about Mom's prescription, and Mom whispered, "Bring me a candy bar." And I know which candy bars she likes. So, Burdette has done an awful lot for me. He's the one that built my tables. And I made him a pie. I gave him some money for whatever he wanted for this table. He didn't take any money for the other table because it was all done with leftover pieces he had. But I made him a pie, but that's a very small price. So I asked him, I know he likes chocolate. I said, "What's your preferred chocolate?" He said, "I like chocolate candy, dark chocolate." So I got him a dark chocolate bar and brought it back. And I just laid it on the desk where he was working when I came back in. And when he saw it there, he said, "Hey, Diane, we're having a storm, so I'm going to need a bigger one." And I said, "Well, you can go to the store on your way out of town." So it was just kind of fun. It made it a lot better. Okay, so there we go. Hope you don't mind all my jibber jabber. All of these beads and fun things are attached to the spine, and I think they're fun. I have little jingle bells that have a little loop at the top, so I could attach a bell if I wanted to. There's all kinds of things you can add to these. So I hope that this helped you, and I'll be back with another video. And I think that the other video will be a flip through of this because it's almost done. I have to make a tie and just do some finishing touches. So thanks for coming along today, and I'll see you in another video. And I hope you're having a creative day. Bye.